I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you and everyone you love, all of your friends, everyone. You're all dead.
Your mom is really pretty.
I'm on your side, buddy. I will defend you to my death. No matter what, I've got you covered.
Whew, that was easy.
Yeah, because that's apparently how things work in this universe. If you don't know what's happening, Stranger Things just had a Martha moment from Batman v Superman. It's,
Yep.
we are mortal enemies until it turns out that, like, oh, your mom's name is Martha as well? Well, then, I guess we're buddy buddy now.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't know. Hello, welcome to Ignore the Bell. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Tyler.
We are doing this is the last episode in season 3 of Stranger Things because we have been doing episode by episode reactions / discussions / reviews for all of season 3, and we're posting them daily. And so we are now at the end. We're going to do a final season 3 wrap up, which will get posted on Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one is uh, episode 8, Stranger Things season 3, episode 8. And oh, I've got the title. What is it? The Never
The
Ending
battle.
Crappiness? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not the Never Ending Crappiness. It's the Battle of Starcourt. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, and this is going to be a great discussion. And thankfully, we have a sponsor for today's
Oh,
episode.
good.
Yeah, so today's sponsor is stretching belts. It's a very particular kind of belt that just adjusts to any sort of pressure against it, so that if you need just a little bit of an extra inch, it'll give it to you eventually. So
Mm-hmm.
your pants start to get a little bit tight. Don't worry, just give it a little bit of time, and the belt will automatically adjust. That's how
Right.
belts work. So.
Yeah. The only belt you'll ever need.
Hmm.
Literally. It just will continue to just expand and contract with your weight
Yep.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's a great sponsor, and what a great deal. People should definitely be buying this.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, like we really want to get into this discussion, so we will see
Yeah.
you on the other side. All right, so we're talking Stranger Things season 3, episode 8, the season finale. Um, and it followed the structure of what I was saying, where they're going to leave about 20 minutes at the end to
Yeah.
have their denouement, where they have all of the falling action and they try to resolve things. But then it's not actually resolved because that's exactly what we've had with season 1 and season 2, which I didn't think was terrible. I
Yeah.
thought it was, some of the stronger stuff in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But honestly, there's a lot to talk about in this episode. Uh, and I don't want to do like, the standard, like, okay, let's go from the beginning of the episode through the end. Let's
Right.
just jump in to, some of our biggest issues.
Sure. Do you want to get into the I'm trying to can we talk about 11 and Billy? That do you want to do
Yes.
that?
Yeah,
Because
we could do that.
we'll go there and then we'll go into the ridiculous musical montage of, the never-ending story with split screen. All of oh
Yes.
my.
Yeah.
But okay, let's start with 11. So basically, like, and you called this, by the way, right?
Yes.
You really did call this. This is one of your predictions that Billy is going to sacrifice himself. And then Max is all sad. Oh no, that abusive, psychotic half brother that I have, he's gone, even though, like, he's been terrible and he should have been imprisoned for life. Like, oh
Yeah.
no, he's gone. I'm gonna miss him so much.
Yeah, I mean, I get that she would be sad, that it would be, like horrifying to see somebody that you know so well die in front of you. But yeah, they didn't have that great of a relationship for her to, have that whole like going up to the body and, that final moment. The whole thing with Billy is just that his sacrifice was not earned.
Mm-mm.
It just, I don't know. It's, there's so much there.
Yeah. So I thought, and I had said before, and when we were talking about when Eleven goes into the psychic realm, where
Mhm.
she then finds Billy, and then he grabs her, and then she's falling backwards, and then she goes into the best moments of his childhood, and then the start of the childhood trauma that he's experienced with his father being abusive. And I just thought that that was some of the worst stuff that we got in this season, even though it wasn't like silly, and most of the bad stuff is the really silly stuff, but it was just like this, you know, over the top sentimentalism. And it's like, you're not doing anything. We already knew that he had this abusive relationship with his father. Uh, but anyway, and it's like, why are we spending time on this? It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, he had a good childhood. He had some nice moments with his mom, but then his dad was really abusive and that kind of messed everything up. And it's like, yeah, we already got that. That was already established. So why are you
Yeah.
showing it? And as you pointed out when we were talking about that scene, it's like, well, probably because this is going to come back somehow,
Yeah.
that this connection to his childhood, that now that 11 has that insight into him, that she's going to be able to use that to stop it. And I said, if they do that, it's going to be so stupid, because it's like, I'm gonna kill you and everyone you know and love, and then it's like, oh wait, you know what happened? You know that I liked to surf and my mom was really pretty. Oh, therefore I can now overcome the mind flayer and I will lay down my life to save you guys. Which is exactly what ends up happening. And this is the Martha moment. In case you guys don't know what that is, that's from Batman v Superman, where
Yeah.
Batman and Superman are going to kill each other. And then it's like you get this mix up over, Martha. And it's like, oh, we have this shared connection. You have a mother too,
Right.
essentially, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It really is. Billy is like holding 11 down, and then 11 is just starts describing this one scene from
Seven
Billy's
feet,
childhood.
7 feet away for 7 feet. Like, oh, you cut me to my soul. That
Yeah.
that is
She
okay.
was wearing sandals, or not, she was holding sandals with sand on them, and I'm just like, okay, I get it.
Oh
This,
my.
it's so bad.
Try to stop a murder from happening ever by describing to the murderer how pretty his mother is. You go, she was pretty. She was really pretty. And then it's like, I don't want to kill. Why do I want to
Right.
see the world burn? Let me think about how pretty my mother was. Okay, that uh, I don't know how the Duffer Brothers wrote this. I don't know what is wrong with them. Telling a dude, especially if he's really angry, describing just how pretty his mother is, that is not gonna work. I don't think most guys want to think about their mothers in that way anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's also interesting because, like, 11 doesn't say pretty or anything like that, but she just describes every single feature of
She does
Billy's
say
mother.
pretty. I'm sure she does.
She had said it before, like in the previous episode, but like, yeah, I'm positive that she didn't actually say pretty,
I'm sure that
in
she
this
said
episode.
pretty and then real pretty. But okay, that's fine.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's so bad, like it's awful. Yeah. So we have that whole moment, and
Oh,
then
and then he dies like Neo from the Matrix.
yes, absolutely. I was just going to talk about this. Okay, so the Mind Flayer, or the beast that the Mind Flayer created, I guess,
Hmm.
um, then it sends out one of its tentacles straight toward 11, and somehow Billy just happens to be right in the pathway of the tentacle.
Oh yeah.
Like he gets directly in front of it. It's not he grabs it from the side or anything like that. No, he takes it full force like directly. It's a
Mm-hmm.
direct assault. And I'm like, how did he get in that position?
No clue.
Like I so that bothered me. Um and then instead of this beast, using its other tentacles to attack 11, because
Mm-hmm.
there's only one Billy and several tentacles that can
Right.
go anywhere.
Yep.
No. Then all the tentacles have to go to Billy
Right.
and kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Priorities just instantly changed as soon as Billy stood up to it. Um, yeah, and then he definitely had, like a bit of a Jesus pose there. Like his arms weren't quite high
Oh,
enough, but like it
yeah.
was like a little. uh,
Yeah. And you're absolutely right because it's not earned.
yeah.
It's that, well, it's not, Andy Dufresne from the Shawshank Redemption, who finally, like, we know that he was, falsely imprisoned, that he didn't kill his wife, and that he has been, just desperately trying to hold on to hope. Right when it just seems like there should be no hope, and like literally crawling through the sewer, and then he comes out in the rainstorm and he raises his arms in this pose, and it's a really beautiful, moving moment.
Mhm.
It That's not what this is at all.
Right.
He's a despicable character. He's despicable, and then it, yeah, all of a sudden we're supposed to care about him. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, because there is no moment in this where he does like the only moment where he does anything good is
uh-huh.
when he stands up against the Mind Flayer beast. That's the
Yes.
only thing that he ever does that's beneficial to anybody.
Right.
Everything else that he has ever chosen to do is awful. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I am double checking here. I've got the subtitles on.
Oh,
11
okay.
does say this. She goes, "She was pretty," and then it flashes back to her where she's like laughing, ah, right? And then
Okay.
she goes,
All right.
"She was really pretty," and like
Okay.
that
All right.
seems to be the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what
All right.
drove me crazy. Is it's just
Yeah.
it's so that how I don't think a guy wants to hear that about his mom. Like, if she, like, all you have to do is just change it to, "She loved you. She loved you so much."
Yeah.
That I think would touch him. But why are you talking about her physical appearance? Like, yes, the prettiness might matter to 11 because that's kind of a thing that she notices, right? That, like, because
Mhm.
she has no sense of this. And then she sees the picture of Nancy in season one and she goes, "Pretty." And then it means so much when Mike ends up telling her that she's pretty, right?
Yeah.
Because she's been raised in such an unfeminine way of, like, the shaved head, and she doesn't get to wear, clothing that she would choose. It's like all just she's living in a laboratory. So this
Yeah.
idea of being feminine is important to her. But why would that matter to Billy?
No
Why would that
idea.
touch him? Because I don't
Yeah.
even have necessarily an issue with 11 saying it. It's just it makes no sense why it would actually impact him.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That
all
was
right,
a
so
bunch of
that's
awfulness.
yeah.
Uh, oh, another bunch of awfulness before we get to the never-ending story. This is just like something that I thought you would appreciate is how fake did those fireworks look?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, how in the world
They
have
were
they
so
never they have no idea how fireworks work. Like this is
uh-uh.
ridiculous. You
Yeah.
don't just throw a firework and then it explodes on impact. That is not a firework.
Nope. Nope. Nothing
It
about it.
bothered me so much. I was just like, what is happening right now? Why are they all like round and like throw a ball and oh my goodness. Oh, it's so odd. It creates a great visual, don't get me wrong, but it
Sort
makes
of.
absolutely no sense.
It would create a great visual if they looked like actual fireworks. They looked like the fakest fireworks I've ever seen. It
I
was
just don't
terrible.
like the colors were
Sure.
like
Yeah, I
the
understand. I
lighting,
know.
but yeah, it
And I'm
was
sure that's what they were thinking. Like, it'll make it look so epic and visually, interesting. But okay, whatever. Um, okay, so I have a couple things on here. I just had a couple notes that I just had to write down. Uh, that this is hilariously bad. I literally started laughing multiple times during this episode because of how bad this was at times. Like the Billy dying scene. Yeah, I mean, it's like Snakes on a Plane bad. It's Sharknado bad. It's absurd. Because then like you get just the absolute worst moment in the history of this show, and one of the worst moments I've ever seen in any television show, which is the musical number from The Neverending Story, what is supposed to be the intense, this is the season finale, this is the Battle of Starcourt, and then you get this ridiculous banter, and I did call that one, that she is real and that she's going to come in at some point, and yeah, so of course she's real, and they create this artificial need for her that she's this mathematical whiz, which was like it was established, right? Because she went to science camp and all of that, but that Murray Bauman doesn't remember exactly what that mathematical equation or principle is, right?
Planck's constant.
Sure. Were you already familiar with that?
Yes. Yeah.
What is it?
I don't remember exactly like what it's used for, but I know that it's a constant that like basically one number that doesn't change that you can plug into several different equations that it just, like fits into them. So you always know that you're going to have to multiply by that. I think it has something to do with like gravitational pull or something.
From physics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because you took physics, so
yeah.
Okay, I never took it, so I'm not familiar with it. And anyway, yeah, like Erica knows what it is, but she doesn't have it memorized. She's like, I'm not that much of a nerd, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm like, that 10-year-old, okay, sure.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Erica. So many moments of Erica being awful.
There was, I gotta say though, at one point though, I actually appreciated her being on the show when she was like, "Would you just get the damn number?" And I was like, "Yes." Erica is speaking on behalf of all fans, even though I absolutely hate her as a character. But in that moment, I was like, "Yes!" Like, and then like she shuts it off, and I'm like, "Thank you!" When she finally shuts off the communication between them. But yeah, this whole thing of everything about it was contrived. It just like Dustin could have got the number in a much more expedient fashion. He could have just said, I will do this afterwards. I'll sing you the song and all of this stuff. Like, I know that it might not make sense, but I need to know what it is right now. But instead we get, and it's not just that they sing it. It's that you get split screen. It's that you have the non-diegetic music coming in to really support this. You have her standing up and doing this, and right? Like everything about that was horrible. And then it intercuts to the Jurassic Park moment where you've got Jeff Goldblum in the back of the Jeep and, faster, we must go faster, as the T-Rex / Mind Flayer is chasing them down the road. But this is all being set to the music from the Neverending Story. I'm like, this is pastiche. This is parody. Like, you're not even doing anything original anymore.
I gotta say, I was grinning from ear to ear throughout this entire thing. Based on, like we've been talking basically this whole season about, you being like, if they fully embraced the zaniness, then I would be fine with it. At this point, I was just like, I am along for the ride. This is adorable. I loved it.
Well,
I enjoyed it so much. Just as a pure like, oh my god, like I started like getting into the music. I was like, yeah.
Well, I gotta say that's why I started like writing down like these notes that I was like, this is hilariously bad, right? That like I was laughing, but I was laughing, I am sure, for all the wrong reasons. I was laughing, basically like I'm watching The Room. That's why I said, I don't know. I tweeted this out to you. I don't know if the Duffer Brothers and Tommy Wiseau, who maybe has a brother, if they've ever been in the same room at the same time before, but I'm pretty sure that they're the same people, because this just, it was, because if they fully embrace this for the entire episode, but I hate the switching back and forth, because if it is just going to be complete Austin Powers silliness for the entire thing, and that's what this show is, then that's fine. But you can't go from this is intense, this is serious to no, it's completely absurd and silly. And then, but don't remember, it's really intense, it's really serious, but no, it's complete silliness. I hate the switching back and forth. I did laugh. I laughed like crazy throughout this episode because I couldn't believe what I was watching. It's, do you know what I mean? It's almost
Yeah.
like if you're watching, if you're really into sports and you're watching your team, I've had this happen before. Like, let's say if I'm watching baseball and the Blue Jays are down like, 4-0, it's like, oh, that's frustrating. But if they're down like 12-0 and it's only like the fifth inning, then you keep watching because it's such a train wreck. And you're like, let's see how high the score can go. And you watch because it's just so bad. You're like, how much worse can this get? And it's like, 19-2. And you're like, that was amazingly bad. And
Right.
you just kind of appreciate it. You're like, whatever, we move on to the next game, and that's fine because whether you lose by 1 or 17, you're still losing. So it's
Right.
kind of fun to just like, let's go crazy in the loss. That's what this felt like to me. This is just so stupid at this point.
I want to have that moment like just playing on a loop, that music video. I don't care. Like I will watch that day after day because I enjoyed it so much for such ridiculous reasons. And I was just like, I'm into this. This is fine.
Okay.
But I totally get what you're saying with like it switching back and forth. But I guess I was like, okay, we're into the silly moments. I'm gonna get into the silly moment, and then it because it didn't, it kind of eased into the song. It wasn't like just all of a sudden bang song. There was like the Dustin not wanting to do it and stuff like that. And after the song, then there was like a little bit of time before it started to get like really serious, at least emotionally, in my opinion. But like it is still a very inconsistent episode overall, and it doesn't make any sense that moment happens at the same time as one of the saddest moments in the series.
Which is what?
In my opinion, it's Elle reading the letter from Hopper
Ugh.
and like all the things that Hopper added to the end.
To me, this is why I'm so frustrated with this show. And I genuinely, I'm basically at the point now with Stranger Things where I'm at with Star Wars of I think I'm done. I just can't take this anymore. And I just don't want to watch something if I just hate it this much. Um, but it's so stupid because like I didn't feel anything because I was sure that he wasn't dead, and
Mm.
then he's not dead. And so the whole thing is completely idiotic. He's not dead. He's not dead. There's no, okay, because they already established at the end that he's not dead. And I didn't think that he was dead. I said this earlier in one of our podcasts. I said this has become Game of Thrones where, and I've only watched the first few seasons of the show, but I've read the books. And so the people who have watched the show all the way to the end, then they're like, here's the thing with Game of Thrones, unless you see a character physically die on screen, it doesn't matter how much peril it seems like they're in, unless you see them take their last breath and then essentially, fall over dead and they bury them, then they're not dead.
Mm.
Because it's sort of like Glenn from The Walking Dead, of Glenn looks like
Right.
he's
Yeah.
dead,
Yeah.
he falls off of the thing, and then you're just like, oh, he's dead because he's in this horde, and then it's a fake out that he slides under the dumpster and somehow survives, and nobody likes this. And it's like, yeah, nobody likes it because you're playing with us. So Hopper falls, like he gets hit, and then it's like, yeah, but we never saw him die. And then they just run off, and all of the Russian soldiers and scientists, they all just disappear when the Americans go in. So they didn't capture anybody. And then at the very, very end, after the first little bit of credits, then they're like, no, not the American. Get this guy to go and feed him
Yeah.
to the demi-dog.
Yeah. I saw some people theorizing that
It's Brenner.
yeah, which I would be more okay with.
It's not Brenner.
um I'll
It's
admit that
Hopper.
if it's Hopper, then this is awful. Like
It is
truly,
Hopper.
truly awful. Um, I I really, really hope that it's not Hopper, and I want to hold on to the I want to hold on to the belief that Hopper is truly dead, and that was his whole sign off, and
No,
that's just what's going to make me
I
happy.
I understand that, but the thing is that with a show that telegraphs everything as much as this one does, the complete lack of surprises and the way they play with people, like it Hopper is 100% not dead because you didn't see him die on screen, and the Soviets all disappear, and it wouldn't be Brenner because Brenner was he if he was working for the Russians, he wouldn't be imprisoned like that.
Mm,
Because
yeah,
the last time we saw Brenner, he died the way Hopper just died, but in season 2, according to that one guy in the apartment, then Brenner's totally alive.
yeah.
And so it's like, well, why would Brenner be alive, but Hopper's not going to be alive after this? And then, like I say, all of the Soviets, they all disappear because they don't capture anyone. And then we go back to this whole thing. Like that's
Why
why, and
can't you just let me hold on to this?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, you can believe it if you want, but that's why like when I was watching it, then I'm going, this is why this writing sucks. This is why this whole sappy, sentimental moment doesn't work because it's so insulting to the viewer. It's quit telling me that I need to be sad. This is MCU garbage. That's what this entire episode felt like. It's just MCU garbage. If you cried when all of your favorite heroes died at the end of whatever it was, Endgame, or I don't even know what the
Infinity
names are,
War. Yeah.
Infinity War. If you cried when they all died, then I'm like, then you're an idiot because you know that they're not dead.
Mhm.
Like, so that's what this is. It's that you can't have a sentimental moment and say, like, and isn't it so sad that he died? But isn't it great that he didn't die? Excuse me, what? No, you don't get to have both things. And
Yeah.
because they already did this with 11 at the end of season 1, then they
Mhm.
tease the whole thing of, oh, she's dead. But then you see the waffles and all of that, the egos that Hopper leaves, and it's like, oh, she's not really dead, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. If they wanted him to die, they would have shown it on screen. Like, when have they ever killed off a character where they don't show it on screen?
Yeah.
Because every
No, you're,
time it seems like a guy is dead, but he's not actually, it's because we didn't see him die on screen.
yeah. No, you're right. I just I want that to be Hopper's final moments. I want it to be so badly. Um, because I love Hopper and I feel like his character has, you know, reached like his character's story or arc has reached a decent ending, like a good
Yeah.
ending, and I don't know, I just I want that to be the end, um, and yeah,
But it's not. It's a children's show. It's
no,
written for kids at this point. They don't have the guts to kill off a real character. They
I
don't.
know,
They really
yeah,
don't. And the thing is, this is exactly how they write the Duffer Brothers. I was so excited with season 1. I was so blown away. I really felt like when I was watching season 1, it made me um, envious of their ability to write and direct and all of this. Where I just went, man, I don't think I could write something this good, but I want to get good enough that I can. I was just
yeah,
really so envious of what they were doing, and it's like not even envious, but I admired it so much that it's like I
hmm
aspire to write that well. And then the more of their writing that I'm getting and the more of the direction that I'm getting from them, the more I see how they write. Because at the end of season 1, basically Hopper has to keep Eleven's um uh the fact that she's actually alive, he has to keep this secret from the rest of the group. So you get all of this drama throughout season 2 that she's actually there and she wants to reach out, but she can't. And, you know, Hopper made this deal with the Department of Energy. So he's now got all this distance between him and everybody else. And he has to distance
Mhm.
himself because he's keeping this big secret. So you get all this built-in tension as a result of that. Eleven's really alive, but they think that she's dead. So you get all this tension as a result of that. Like, they're just setting it up for season 4 tension, where it's going to be the same thing, that everyone's sure that Hopper's dead and they're struggling through this. Or they love this whole thing of let's grieve over somebody who's dead, but they're not really dead. They did the same thing with Will, right? Well, Will is
Right.
dead. And so, like, now we have to grieve through this and you need to accept this, except he's not actually. And
Hmm.
so they love that trope.
Yeah.
Everybody else is crying over somebody who's dead who's not actually dead,
Right.
because then they get to bring them back and they think that it's going to be amazing. And it's like, but you can't have this really sentimental sign off from Hopper, except he's not actually gone. You can't do both things,
Hmm.
because then it just completely cuts the legs out from under your writing, where
Yeah.
now you look back and you're like, well, it's not sad because he's not actually dead. So now all that we want is we want to see him get back.
Right.
And that's exactly how they write, because like I say, they're telegraphing this stuff. It's not, you're it's so obvious. It's, you know, like somebody who's trying to fight and they're like winding up with this arm, and it's like, are you really going to punch me with that arm that you're winding up from? And it's like, yep. And it's like, oh, okay, so that wasn't even a fake out. That was just, look at this, here we go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I know that you're right. I just don't want to believe it. um, yeah, it's oh man, because
That's why I hated it, because when I was watching it, then I was just so frustrated that I'm like, don't even try to make me sad. And this is, like I say, this is why I don't watch MCU movies. This is
Right.
why I don't watch most blockbusters. My favorite films, like, which we don't talk a lot about on the podcast, but my favorite films are independent films,
Mhm.
because I find that they actually are daring and they take risks, and they respect the viewer's intelligence and patience, and they don't pander. They don't do these fake outs.
Yeah.
And instead, but blockbuster films, they don't have any guts. And it's because producers are too involved in the production of big budget films and TV shows. And they say, no, but we've got all the ratings, we've got all of our data, all of the metrics on how well liked this character is. So you can't kill them off, or people will not respond well if you kill off this character. And it's just, it's the economic imperative within the system of, we're going to make money from having the character still be on the show, so you can't kill them off.
Right.
And so then writers are like, but I really want to, so let me kind of make it seem like I've done it, and then they're not actually dead. It's trying to have your cake and eat it too, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. I do think that I do think that it's relevant that, the that his letter ends off with keep the door open 3 inches, like
Yeah,
for good old dad.
yeah.
And I feel like that's how, wide the door to the upside down is right now.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like they were kind of trying to play with this idea of, well, maybe Hopper escaped like into the upside down. Um, and so keeping the door open will ensure that there's like the possibility that he could come back.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah. Of course, it's also possible that the Russians do have a gate in what was the name of that place? Kamchatka?
Kamchatka. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so it's possible that they do have a gate that's already opened on that side.
Hmm.
And so then they went through that, and that's how they escaped.
Yeah. But that still wouldn't make any sense, because the distance that you travel in the upside down seems to be the
Hmm.
same distance that you travel in our world. So
Yep.
he just walked from Indiana to Kamchatka, Russia.
Well, I mean, all the Russians,
They did.
who
Yes.
escaped, then they would have
Hmm.
somehow been able to get through that 3 inch gap.
Uh-huh. And somehow end up on the other side. Somehow.
Yeah,
Because, like
yeah,
I say, the distance within the upside down is still the same distance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, wouldn't there be an ocean filled with who knows what kinds of creatures?
Yep. Yep.
So
I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying like I could totally see that.
yeah, I mean, maybe. I yeah, they must have something going on though, because they've got the demi-dog that's actually alive. And
Right.
so what was established within season 2 is that they die the second that the gate is closed. So the only way that they can exist in our world is if the gate is open. So they must have a gate open there in Kamchatka because you see the demi-dog at the end. So
Yeah.
they must.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And it's 3 months later. So that's the only way that that could possibly be the case. Because even if
Mm,
they captured one, it would die the second that the gate was closed.
right. Yeah. Um, all right. So what else is going on in this episode?
Well, can I just, like, we could talk a little bit more about plot, but I just wanted to bring this up that at the end of the episode, then, and this drove me crazy as well. And I mean, like, I'm more angry today than I was when I was watching it last night because literally I was laughing, but I was laughing for just like, it's kind of like when tragedy befalls you and you either laugh or cry. And I just was laughing like crazy because I'm just like,
Mhm.
this is so sad that this used to be such a well written show. And it was something that just I really, really enjoyed. And now it's just, it is a parody. It is complete silliness. It's Austin Powers, but
Yeah.
it started out as James Bond. And I don't like James Bond, but like that's the idea though. It's the
Yeah.
same plot. One of
I
them
mean,
is sincere and one of them is silly.
right. And it's funny because James Bond did reach the point of self-parody for a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but there was still the ridiculous version with Austin
mhm.
Powers, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this thing has become. So at the end, then they're talking to, I believe the character's name is Keith. So Robin and Steve, they go into the video store and they talk to Keith. And this was such a ridiculously stereotypical, like stereotyped scene of the owner of a video store is, this film snob and they're looking for other film snobs. And it's like, okay, number one, does Keith own the store? Why is he hiring people? He's just a punk older teen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why
He
is
used
he
to
the
work in
one?
the arcade.
He used to work in the arcade. Now he works in the video store, and it's like, you see how the 80s went from that to this? Because then, VHS and Betamax, they became really big, and then you start getting video stores everywhere. Huh? Remember the 80s? And it's like, okay, so fine, he works there. He apparently is the owner because he's hiring new employees and he genuinely cares about the bottom line, like the actual balance sheet because Robin is like trying to say like, "Oh, well Steve will bring in customers, they'll be cute girls," but it's like does he want the cute girls in there or is he thinking of them as customers? But in any case, it's such a ridiculous thing of like, yeah, he's a film snob. Robin, all of a sudden, is a film snob. All of a
Right.
sudden.
Yeah.
That was not established before, but now she is. And I hate that. And it's something that Hollywood writers do all the time because they are, film obsessed. So their
Yeah.
knowledge of film runs pretty deep, especially compared to the average person. So but then like, no one who's opening up a video store in the mid 1980s is a film snob. They want the blockbusters. That's what people are going to rent. You don't want to
Yeah.
hire somebody who's a film snob there. You want to
Yeah.
hire somebody who just knows like blockbuster movies that are coming out.
Yeah.
In any case, he asks them to list their 3 favorite movies immediately. So
Mhm.
Robin says, and I wrote this down because I wanted to actually get it right. So she says The Apartment, which is directed by Billy Wilder from 1960. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay, so I have seen The Apartment. The other two I haven't seen, but I'm familiar with. So The Apartment stars Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine, and like I say, it's directed by Billy Wilder, who's just an excellent, excellent, excellent director. One of my favorite movies is Sunset Boulevard, which
Hmm.
he directed, and it's like a real attack on Hollywood, but it's done in a very subtle way. And it's I'm trying to think of like what the right term would be for it, but it's very sardonic, right? It is bitterly disdainful. Like it's pretty biting. And so anyway, so The Apartment I have seen, and that's it's kind of a comedy slash drama, but dealing with fairly mature themes. And anyway, I believe it won the Oscar in 1960. And then Hidden Fortress, which is from Akira Kurosawa from 1958, which is, the inspiration for Star Wars.
Right. Yeah.
Like it literally, like, so it's a Japanese film, but the inspiration for Star Wars. So that's one of her favorite movies. Steve, by the way, says that he likes Star Wars, the one with the teddy bears. Right. So it's like they're doing this intentionally. They're saying the really good cinema version, the film, and then the movie over here, right? Yeah. And then Animal House is the first one that Steve says, which is a comedy, but it's National Lampoon's Animal House, and it's just complete silliness, right? And it's crass and it's boorish and whatever, right? It's funny, but it's crass and it's boorish. The Apartment is it would be comedic.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's very droll. Whereas Animal House is like, and The Apartment is like, I get it. Right. Yeah. And so it's like they're pairing these, and then the last one that he says Back to the Future, but he doesn't even remember the name of it, or Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And then she says Children of Paradise, which is from 1945 and is directed by Marcel Carnet. So this is a French film. It's from the French New Wave. So the French title would be Les Enfants du Paradis. And with that one, it's one of the most successful French films of all time, and it's considered to be the French Gone with the Wind from a little bit of research that I've done. So now I haven't seen it, but I am familiar with French New Wave, which took place immediately after World War II. This was actually still when the Germans were occupying France when they were filming it, but basically it's real locations, like on set, not using an actual set, but real filming locations, and because everything else was destroyed, so they had no choice but to go to the streets to make their films, right? And and so it's like, so she says these really brilliant movies that really are films, and then he just has a bunch of movies, and they clearly set this up as one is superior to the other. And yet, what are they doing? Which direction are they going? Are they going Animal House, or are they going The Apartment? Are they going Star Wars, or are they going Hidden Fortress?
Right. Yeah, they are definitely on Team Steve.
Exactly. They're on Team Steve, but I don't know that they are. I feel because they also wrote Robin's lines and her picks. It's like they're saying, yeah, that is better, but what's going to bring in the girls? What's going to bring in people that really, and I think that's really what's happened, is they're saying, well, we got to go for mass appeal. And that's where I'm just like, and that's perfectly fine. And I understand you are going to get more viewers if you go that direction. Yeah. For me, I'm out of here. Right. Because I'm on Robin's side. Those are the movies that I like to watch. And I'm not on, like, I literally have not seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
But I'll go and watch like French New Wave for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. That it is again very meta.
It is.
It's so funny that we're getting this just right at the end of Stranger Things 3, because we got it in the last episode and now in this episode again, where they seem to be directly addressing us and being like, hey, we know that, this is the really good stuff, but if we want to, stay on Netflix, if we want to, keep bringing in more audience members, then we have to go in the other direction.
Absolutely.
And and so it's frustrating, and I feel like, it's again like, once we reached the never-ending story part, I was grinning from ear to ear. I was just like, all right, this is what this is. This is fine. I kind of love this, but it's not what season 1 was, and I don't love it for the same reasons at all.
But it's not what episode 8 is for a good portion of it.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And so the thing is like, at the beginning, because it had a good opening sequence where, they're trying to cut this thing out from Eleven's leg, and
Mhm.
then she ends up using her powers to do it. And that was all, I thought, pretty intense and done really well. And then, like,
Yeah.
you get the death of Hopper, even though it's not really the death of Hopper, reading the letter, and they do play the same music that they played
Yeah.
when Will died. And I forgot, I thought it was Anya or Moby, but no, it's Heroes, which is a David Bowie song, but it's a remake of it. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and so yeah, anyway, like, and that song's been remade a bunch of times, like the Wallflowers did it, but anyway, but I don't know this version, but I do know that's from season one. It's like that was
Yeah.
maybe the best moment in season one.
Yeah.
And then they're like, remember when the show was good? What if we try to appeal to your memory and your sentimentality, where you think back? Because, like, it's like, oh, shoot, we don't know if people are actually going to be moved enough by them moving away and, like, the end of things. But what if we go back to when this was good, and we kind of give that little cue, right? It's like, if you're
Mhm.
trying to, like, if you want to cry, then you think about this sad thing from your past, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that can bring on the tears. That's what they're doing, because they're going, well, we're not so good anymore. But when we used to be good, then we could actually move people. So we'll invoke that to achieve a
Right.
certain emotional affect for the
Yeah.
viewers. And I'm just like, "Ugh."
Yeah. No,
But
I
you
mean,
could
like,
have stayed good.
yes. Yeah. I was not moved to tears or anything, but I did think that it was a good send off for Hopper, because I kept trying to say he really is gone, he really is gone, he really is gone.
Yeah.
But uh but yeah, it really does, it just falls flat because, Hopper isn't dead. Um, I want him to be dead,
Right,
which
but
is
I'm saying,
sad.
like,
But
but if it worked for you because you were not thinking that he's really alive, then it works. And I think that for most people, the vast majority of people are going to believe that he's really dead.
right.
And at least you will, until you get that whole thing of going back to Russia. But I was just sure the entire time, because I'm like, he did not die on screen. I have seen enough of Game of Thrones, and I've seen, Walking Dead with Glenn, and I've seen enough of this stuff. You guys did the same thing with Brenner, even within this own show, that it's like, well, now you're saying that Brenner's not dead, even though he got attacked by the Demigorgon. So I'm like,
Yeah.
then Hopper's definitely not dead.
Right.
Because if he
Yeah.
was dead, it would have been emotional in that moment. And it wasn't really. It was too quick. It would have been Joyce going over to him and, like, slow motion, and she's like in agony, like trying to pull him away, and Murray's pulling her off of him. But instead, it's just he disappears.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, ah, so he's not. That's why
Yeah.
I thought that he just wasn't dead. Um, yeah, and I don't know. It's frustrating, because if the show consistently stayed silly, and it just, but you can, to me, it's just, you cannot continue to have your pendulum of tone swing
Hmm.
within an episode and expect me to go from one to the other. Like, I don't know, and maybe that does work for some people, but it sure doesn't work for me. It's, if I'm
Yeah.
watching something that is dramatic and is grounded, it's exactly what we talked about on the other episode with, like, the Poochie episode of The Simpsons, right? It's like, you want realistic, down to earth, but also off the wall and zany. You want to do both of those things, and it's like, you kids don't know what you want. That's why you're still kids, because you're stupid, and that's how it feels. You want to be zany, you want to be off the wall, because that never-ending story musical interlude certainly was zany and off the wall, and with,
Yeah.
like, the T-Rex slash Mind Flayer, like, chasing them down as they're looking out the back window of the station wagon. Okay, that's really zany. But then you go back to, oh, but Billy died, and this is so sad, and Max, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I'm supposed to be sad. Yeah, but it's totally silly and zany. And then it's like, except for Hopper died. And remember when we thought that Will was dead? And then I'm like, no, I don't, like, I'm not going to go and see a movie like Austin Powers and expect to be brought to tears because of how, profound it is, but then also laugh like crazy throughout the film.
Yeah, yeah, it's sorry, I'm thinking to Austin Powers when Felicity dies, and then Austin is just like, wait a tick, I've got the time machine right here. I'll just go back 10 minutes, save the girl, save the world, and it'll all be, great. And
Yeah,
he does exactly that. And it does kind of feel like that, where it's like, oh no, wait.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
okay, so I want to talk about one other thing, unless you've got something that you really want to get to.
Uh, the Mind Flayer beast seems to change size.
Oh, a lot.
I
Yeah.
don't understand. Sometimes he's like gigantic, other times and he's just like the size of a large vehicle. It's
Yep. Correct.
yeah,
um,
just had to point that
sure.
out.
So I would say one of the more interesting parts of this episode, if not the most interesting part, and the thing that genuinely surprised me, which I appreciated, is the fact that 11 seems to have lost her powers.
Yes. Yeah, no, that is
See, I'll
really, really
give credit.
interesting. Yeah.
I did not see that. That was surprising. And that I thought was good because it creates a lot of dramatic tension now.
Yeah, I love that, she went through the garbage and got the Coca-Cola can.
I didn't
Uh,
like the way she placed it with New Coke and then Coca-Cola. Like that just felt too product placement-y for me.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
the way
yeah.
she oriented it. Like, because we would have known that it was New Coke. You didn't have to
Right.
have it exactly like it's a commercial. Like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah, yeah.
frame this perfectly. But anyway, but yes, I did like that. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Because of course, like that's clearly like the first object or one of the first objects that she first used her powers on. So it's really, really great to see her do that. It's great to see that 3 months later, she's just trying it with, like this little thing, just moving like the teddy bear, but it doesn't work. Uh, yeah, the fact that Mike is like, oh, they'll come back, don't worry. Um, that then I'm kind of like, well, it would have been, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like it should be, people are trying to uh, get her to realize like Mike could definitely like an alternate version could have been that he's like, look, you don't need the powers. Like you're incredible the way you are. That's not why I like you. Um, but instead he's like, oh, don't worry, you'll get them back. As if like that's and I get that it is, important to her. And if we had more time, then I think that we probably would have gotten a moment like that where,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you're perfect just the way you are. Don't worry about not having your powers anymore. And we'll probably get some of that in Stranger Things 4. But but yeah, no, really interesting move. It does definitely make it the final showdown there more compelling because you're actually like, yeah, she can't do anything. Like she does not know how to fight without her powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that it's a really interesting choice and a good choice, and I'm curious how long they're going to allow this to go on for,
Yeah.
right? That I mean, it like I say, it sets up some pretty good dramatic tension. Like, and it
Hmm.
did throughout the episode because you're like, you can't just turn to 11 to fix
Right.
everything, and her powers just seem to expand or contract depending on how difficult the opponent is, right? That it's really, really hard to defeat one person, but then it's really, really hard to defeat the Mind Flayer when it's ginormous, but she's always capable of doing it, but it's always really hard, right? That her
Yeah.
powers just seem to do this depending on who she's facing. And it's
Yeah,
very
just like
much
the belt.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like constantly trying to contrive tension out of these scenes where it's like, well, we got to make everything dramatic and tense instead of saying, look, she can definitely take out that thing because it's not that big of a challenge because her powers are way up here. But instead, they just really fluctuate to create tension. But now that she at this point, since she doesn't have the powers, what I like is it sets up a lot of things. It's how is she going to get them back? What is she going to have to do to get them back? Is she going to, do something like, because I feel like she is, I, whether she wants to get them back or not, I'm sure, is going to be forced into a position in which it's going to be necessary to
Mm-hmm.
reacquire her powers, right?
Right.
That if she's the only one who can shut down, like close the gate, right? And you've got another gate now open in Russia, that whatever's happening, if she's the only one with her powers who's capable of doing it, then she's going to have to reacquire them. So is she going to have to reach out, like find Brenner somehow and go back to this
Ooh.
psycho to try to get them back? Um,
Ooh.
is she going to have to contact, eight and figure out like who her other siblings are, and
Right.
so, or is she going to have to do something to herself, like through Brenner or whatever else, like however she ended up with them? Because it's interesting. And I like the fact that the Mind Flayer did that to her, right? That
Mm-hmm.
it realized
Yeah.
that it had a piece of itself in her, and then it seemed to be able to neutralize that ability.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
really clever of it, right? It's
Yeah.
sort of like, it reminds me of the alien from the franchise Alien or Aliens, right?
Mhm.
Where it's really smart. Like, it doesn't seem to have language abilities, but man, is that thing intelligent.
Right. Yeah.
That's what the Mind
Yeah.
Flayer seems like.
Yeah. No, and I do like the fact that the Mind Flayer is still around. I like that it's not, that it wasn't, completely obliterated in this season. Um,
Yeah, like,
but
do we even know what is going on with it at this point? What was the last shot that we saw?
um, yeah, I don't know.
We saw the US military show up to the
Yeah.
mall. You see them all getting rescued,
Hmm.
but that's it.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because like the Mind Flayer is like still in the Upside Down, right? But it's like, but like, what is it doing there? It's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that should be interesting to see how that's going. Um, but yeah, outside of that, um, okay, the belt and the keys. Unless you
Okay.
had more to say
No.
about, yeah. The belt and the keys. Oh my goodness. This is such a trope. It's like it's so overdone of like, yeah, you need two keys and you need two people for it. Oh wait, now there's only one person. They have to figure out a way to do both keys at the same time. And oh, she's stretching, she's clearly not going to make it. She's like 3 inches off. Oh,
Mm,
all of a sudden, somehow the belt is the right leg that she's able to reach the second key. And then
mhm.
she's also able to manipulate the belt to turn the key
Right. How is she pulling, like she's
at
hauling
the
on this
same
thing,
time
but
that she
not
turns the
turning the key, right? She's pulling and pulling and
yeah,
pulling, not turning the key, and all of a sudden she, whoosh, does
yeah,
some little like flick of the wrist, and then is able, like as if she's done this 1,000 times. Like, I know
yeah,
exactly what to do. Like Indiana Jones with his whip, right? Just like, let me just do
right.
a little bit of this, and it'll come back to me, and I can get it to go there. And like, she's always like, yeah, she is a belt wielding, key turning expert.
Yeah, yeah. I just had to point that out because I found it like really ridiculous. As I said, like it's such a trope. It's so
Yeah,
overdone. And this was not new or different in any way.
right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. The Terminator is dead. That's cool.
Uh-huh, finally.
Yeah.
I mean, like when Hopper shot him at the fair, it was frustrating to me because it's like he shot him so many times. Why did he not once do a headshot?
Right. Yeah, I was just frustrated by that because like immediately after he stands up, he opens up his shirt to show that he's wearing a bulletproof vest. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, Okay, you get back up, and you know what? We can just sort of infer, I guess he's wearing some kind of armor,
Right. I was
but no,
sure that
everything needs to be teleplayed.
Yeah, I was sure that he was going to get like, let's say, thrown into the phaser beam or the gate, and then
Yeah.
the last sign is just going to be him with a thumbs up, like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Because I'm just like, you guys are already just you put the Russian Terminator in here. Why not just go for it? And I understand that that's Terminator 2, but still.
Right. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Um, well, yeah, I don't know what else to say about this episode, really.
Yeah, I think maybe like we'll finish with that, and then we're gonna do a separate podcast as a wrap up for all of season 3, so we can kind of talk about the direction. Because the only thing that I really want to do at this point is talk a little bit about the direction going forward and what I thought overall of the season.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just save the rest of that for the season 3 wrap up, which will get posted on Monday.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, folks. Feel free to comment below. Bye.
Bye.
Ignore the bell, people. We're gonna keep going. We're still ignoring it. Don't worry. I, I don't know what the. I think that's the fire drill. All right, we're gonna go home. Yeah. All right, we're done.